What's up, everybody? Good afternoon. It is Monday, November 18th, 2024. Today's episode of Trading Trends. Uranium was really the talk of the town today behind Ken Griffin announcing that he is buying nuclear and he's getting involved in that. I told you guys I bought uranium strictly through through my technical analysis trigger. There was a golden cross with the 50-day moving average crossing over the 200-day, and that was the reason why I got in. It had based long enough for me, and those calls options ripped today. I did not take any profit yet. This is January, but it was nice to see within 72 hours of when my trigger happened that the profits came in, and obviously Kenny G. Griffin obviously helped a ton through that announcement. And today, the rest of it was a very low volume day. I think SPY closed on 33 million shares. So, I mean, really kind of reminiscent of what you're going to see towards the end of next week. We'll talk about the charts as well. But obviously, don't expect monster volume next week through Thanksgiving. Thursday, of course, is closed. And then Friday is a real lame half day. Back to today's tape. So the uranium, gold miners ripped, and oil. So today was more of a commodity day. They were all higher by at least 3%. And then the airlines dropped. I had been looking for an entry specifically for United Air. Airlines look good. Today was a big drop. Spirit officially declared bankruptcy, and they are no more. So no more, getting charged asinine prices for bags and stuff. And volatility fell 3%. Vol actually did fall quite a bit today. 3% is a multiple standard deviation move for volatility. So quite a bit of a digestion period for that. All right. So without further ado, let's share the doc. We'll talk about what moved today. It might not be what you think. Okie dokie. So here is this fella, as you can see here, counting his gold bars, and here's drums of oil and such higher. A nuclear reactor here. So not bad AI. But yeah, here's the headline: uranium, gold miners, oil, all higher by at least by greater than 3%, while airlines and vol fall 3%. All right. So without further ado, let's get to the intraday chart first. Spizzle, the S&P, through the ETF SPY. All right. Here we go. All right. So here is where the day's action started. Right here at the 930 bar. Took a little bit to get off the ground. I do that in terms of what we did versus volume weighted average price. Then you immediately see we really had a nice lift after 10 a.m. We hit our highs at 11:30 a.m. at right around 589.5, and then a little bit of ugly trading, I'll say, where we dipped beneath VWAP. We did end up closing above it at 4 o'clock. For some reason, this is frozen. Give me a second here, fellas and gals. There we go. Okay. So yeah, so that is the intraday chart. Not a ton to see. Like I said, the volume today was super low for SPY. Kind of senses like holiday trading. Let me zoom out more importantly for our forecast, what we were saying. So this is when we peaked back here on the 11th at 600 clean, good psychological clean level right there. And we came all the way back down to the 20-day moving average. And today a small gain of about 40 bips. I have been telling, for about a couple of weeks now that I see this accumulation phase ending right around midweek. The date I have is, let me see here, right around the 19th or the 20th. I said this before the election. And obviously, of course, I do change targets and forecast if, stuff hits way too early, stuff triggers early, or way too late, or if there's a elongated period. Obviously, the big catalyst this week is NVIDIA earnings in 2 days. So we'll see how that's going to move tech. We'll take a look at some relevant charts. All that being said, love the buying area right around here, right around 585. If you're getting under 585, which is the 21-day exponential moving average, I think you're getting the market on sale. I do think you'll get your spots in the next 2 weeks. And to the upside, again, just about 600 target. So from right here, to me, your downside risk is $3 down and about $12 upside, although it sounds twisted because I would not be chasing right here. You had a beautiful run since this about election. And as I said, a lot of the work I do just in terms of accumulation and distribution phases are right around 15 to 18 calendar days and then the market kind of resets. And the 5th obviously was election day, and then that SOAR was the 6th. And maybe NVIDIA would put a little, a little button on this part of the run. I'm obviously still super bullish through the end of year, but I would see maybe curious to see how tomorrow, and obviously tech and the markets trade after NVIDIA. But yeah, I like buying right around 585, and then your upside 600. No sense, kind of boring. I'll go a little bit futuristic here. So around December 5th, I'm going ahead. I see the distribution phase ending right around this level, around 585, and then going towards our 600 target once again. All right. So that is the bigger macro call. Let's get into what really moved today. All right. So first thing, like I said, was Ken Griffin talking about his investment in nuclear. Okay, here we go. There is something wrong with my data feed here. I apologize. 1 second. Let me, I apologize. Hold on, let me refresh this. I apologize. Bar chart from time to time does have some issues. Did it load uranium? There we go. All righty. Apologies. All right, so here's the uranium chart. So a big move today, up 5.25%. I will move that annoying box out for you. So again, it doesn't have a ton of lift. That's what gave me pause about entering this position. The 200-day moving average, honestly, has been pretty much the same since early mid-July, and that figure is 29 even. That does serve as your support, and uranium has been holding that level since September 25th. So almost about 7 weeks of support. It hit its 52-week high on October 21st. So just about a month ago, and I see a little bit of a coiled spring here. My target is for this is right around 34 even, which would be new 52-week highs. Excuse me, I think today the Citadel News was a nice lift to it. Not the greatest looking candle. I mean, not that it didn't close at the highs. It gave back a little bit. This actually traded as high as 32.44 high of day. Well, that being said, this is an accumulation mode. It took a little bit of time for it to get some lift. Hopefully this 200-day starts to pick up. Hopefully get bigger bars here. But I do like a 34 target in about a week to two, probably closer to 2 weeks. So I'm happy to be in the position. And unless something crazy happens, I'm not choosing to take exiting it's January calls. I entered the January 30 calls. So they're, sitting pretty right now. Okay, so uranium, a big mover. Another big mover. So this is a reversal from last week. Gold miners, one of the worst weeks last week. If you don't remember, last week was all about Bitcoin soaring, really settling in a little bit. Not settling in, but taking off even further after the election. And then to the downside, it was gold miners and then biotech and healthcare getting ripped to the downside because of the whole Kennedy Health and Services, cabinet pick. So for the gold miners, a really bad week. You could see what it's done from the highs here, October 22nd. Similar highs, commodities usually kind of dance together as they are correlated. So this was a high, very much so, that within 72 hours of uranium. And now we dipped. Look at this pretty tag of the 200 moving average. I talked about it in the video last Thursday that was just an easy technical buy. I didn't think this support was going to bust, and it really was picture perfect. The low that day on the 14th was 35.19. Your 200 moving average is 35.19. And really, gold miners have been able to hold that level since St. Paddy's Day. So really nice, decent 8 months of support there. Would have been an easy pickup. And this group can move. So again, I'm in the December or January calls. A nice move today, up 4.25%. That is a big move. I think the accumulation phase is just starting now for GDX. And my target is right around 38.80. I think it can do kind of, I don't want to say no problem, but I do expect it to get it to about $39, 39.5, right around there. So still some meat on the bone for this trade, I believe, in the next 2 weeks to maybe 3 weeks. I think this is going to be a slower grind. If what I'm saying is going to happen in terms of the markets and there's a bit of a consolidation, I do think they'll flock into, just straight beta plays like a gold miners. And then the other move, something that's been beat up, oil. USO up 3.33% today. Is that right? Yeah, 3.5% ended up closing. So let's take a look at this. I was very close this morning to putting on an energy short, and I'll show you why later because XLE is one of the best gainers of the past week. And I think it's possibly ran a bit much. So here, a very interesting move, in my opinion, from oil here. I thought it was going to be still continuing to be in distribution mode, but instead what happened was it rode this 3% rally to its 21-day exponential moving average. I was kind of surprised by that. All that being said, I do think this reverses and goes lower towards 68 over the next week or two, maybe 69, right around there, 68, 69-ish. So we'll take another look when I'm looking at the XLE soon, but I think energy is looking potentially ripe for a sale, personally. I don't love the charts, and the 200 moving average, while still rising, believe it or not, has served as resistance since October 14th. So a month and change of that. And just even if you look at the wicks here, it really has been heavy, has not been able to overcome that since October 14th. And again, that ultimate line is 75.39. I don't think it takes it out. And like I said, in fact, I think this treads lower towards 68 over the next 1 to 2 weeks. All righty then. All right, the losers, and this is interesting. I've been trying to get a good price in United Airlines. Some of the airlines look good. This Spirit, kind of dragged down the subsector here. So Jets airline down 2% today. I did not pull the trigger on United or anything like that. But let's take a look at the ETF in general. A great area to be. It's actually one of the best performing ETFs. I do the year over year review, and it's the big kings in the room it's Bitcoin, it's semis, and it's banks. And if you go like 1 or 2 under, it is this Jets ETF, and a lot of it's because of how grossly sold it got on the Japan Nikkei crash. Believe it or not, it got to $16, and now it's 24, a monster 50% rip. And even from last mid-November, right before Thanksgiving, it was $16 as well. Good support there, kind of like a double bottom, as it were, in terms of a 1-year look back. And really, it had this really bad period from August 5th, the Japan crash, through September 12th, and then it rallied right around that period. Like I told you, when you're on the 200 moving average, you're kind of, you're drowning. You better be able to kick and scoop, as it were, to get to the surface. And it did it just in enough time. So August 1st is when the clock started, and rebounded by September 16th. Like I said, right around 4 to 6 weeks. You want to see what happens there. And then the second it gets to that 200-day moving average and it's rising, that mid-September right here, when it got to that 1935, obviously it's easier said now in hindsight, 2020, but that was a perfect buy signal, honestly. And this would be even better on the 24th because it became overbought. So couple ways to trade this, honestly. And then when you had this breakout, that was a monster breakout, October 15th, a lot of folks chased. And that was at 21, all the way to the 52-week highs November 11th of 25 even. And now today, some good give back of 2%. Now what? I think this group has had, a great short-term run. Obviously, I would still love to get long, but for the intermediate term, the next 2 weeks or so, I say this takes its foot off the gas a little bit to about 23.30 even. So a little bit more of a reduction, say about 3% or so downside. And I think it goes right about, like I said, to about 23.30, 23.55, right around there. And if it gets to that point, I very likely will purchase United Airlines. Some of those firms look really good, even fundamentally, in terms of PE, and I think it could very well attract investor dollars as we have this rotation. It's not just semis and tech, which hasn't peaked, since 4 months ago. So tech is not just the belle of the ball. There's other gainers, and you want to be in those areas. So airlines, keep an eye on. I still think it goes a little bit weaker to about this 23.60 level. Just a lot of convergences of moving averages there. The 21-day exponential moving average, as well as the 50-day, I believe, if this is it. My chart is getting a little wonky here. Okay, and then volatility, like I said, a multiple sigma mover. Didn't really expect that today, but the markets continue to go. Lets me know that potentially we have another day or two of upside in the markets. But a good fall here, down 3.5% on VXX. So when I talk about accumulation phases for S&P, that means distribution for VXX and vice versa. So I had said that this was going to be Oh my God, my computer is just wackadoo. Let me pull this up. It gave me Accenture instead of volatility. Okay, so I think this was basing. I believe this to be basing towards the lower band, right around 44 even. Today it plunged through that quite a bit. I mean, the high was 47 down to 44. I still continue to see this. Obviously, my target date was around the 20th for SPY, which just happens to be, I believe, NVIDIA's earnings. So I see the low for this at 44. And then we'll see what happens in like 2 weeks' time, as I say, for this to be ending its accumulation phase, probably around the 49 handle. And just so you have for your reference, the 200-day moving average is right around 51. I don't think it gets that high. We'll see if there's some real fear and, the greed really takes over and you'll see the spike. But I don't think it happens. So that's my call on volatility. Top 3 gainers of the past 5 days, no repeats in charts. Number 1 gainer, still IBIT, holding on to that monster gain. It traded well over the weekend, 92K and such. Let's see what the latest is here on the charts. So specifically through IBIT, on the 13th, it hit $53. Today, $52. Also, just sidebar, Bloomberg reported that tomorrow, I believe, options are available tomorrow on it's either IBIT or BITO, but one of the 2 liquid ETFs is getting a very liquid options market. Let's see how wide or tight the spreads are, but you're going to be able to actually have some optionality in terms of these this iShares ETF. So pretty wild. It's BITO or this one, IBIT. I think it's IBIT. So all that being said, I think this is fully valued right here in the short term. Of course, you have to be long. I wouldn't chase it here. My full value for this is 47 to 48 in the short term. So again, that's $5. It's almost a 10% drop. People will probably crap themselves. They saw Bitcoin go from 90 to 81K, but that's kind of what I'm seeing over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Don't be shocked if it happens. I can't say when because Bitcoin is a different gorilla altogether, but I do see us dropping. When did we first become overbought? This date, because typically, especially for Bitcoin, it'll go, like where the lines of buyers are, kind of like that Taylor Swift analogy of just, you got to wait for her to add new dates. It's sold out. You can't do anything, especially with a mega vol asset like this. It's pretty similar. So on the 11th, the low was 46.5. And yeah, as I said, my upper target's 47 to 48. So that's where I see this going in about 2 to 3 weeks time. And it's Bitcoin, so it can give you all of it in a day, or it can pull back over 2 weeks. Not really sure. But I wouldn't chase this here, even though, and I bet today was unch. All right. Next one. So that's the best gainer of the week. I bet up 5.5% over the past week. Second best gainer in the market, much of it due to today's gains, is uranium. Uranium up 4.5% over the past week. I am not going to pull up the chart because we just did. And this one I do want to pull up, and we'll talk about XLE. It's a bit further back. So you have Bitcoin up 5.5% in the past 5 days. Then you have uranium up 4.5%. And then lower, it's the XLE, believe it or not, up 2%. So let's take a look. Why? I came very close. Not super close, but I did write it down to potentially act on this. So my full value for this on XLE is 94.5, right about. So I want to see how this trades today. Like I said, a good strong day, up 1.3%. It's been a commodity heavy past 5 sessions outside of Bitcoin. Uranium, energy, now these things are starting to come into the fold. Rising 200 moving average, your support's down there at 90.60. All told, what I think for the XLE here is it's coming down to the 21-day exponential moving average of 92 over the next 2 to 3 weeks. So I didn't want to chase it today, but I very, very likely, depending on how it trades tomorrow or Wednesday, will end up buying, whether it be a put on Halliburton. It was my favorite because it looks pretty overbought, overdone, and I just see a pullback coming for that space. Don't want to be intensely short anything as the market is, just on fire here. But I do see a pullback in an area like this. And if people are crapping on tech, not hitting highs since July, I mean, take a look at energy. XLE's highs were back in April when we were celebrating Easter here. Okay. So this has been, I don't want to say underwater for 7 months, but it's done a lot of basing basically. And now it's starting to ride a 200-day average higher. I don't think this gets. I don't think it really holds much more than 95. Could it go higher tomorrow? Sure. The day after that, okay. But after that, I do see us pulling XLE pulling back to $92, holding that 200-day moving average. So it could be a room for investor dollars in the future. I remember, I don't know if you're on Gaston, you had asked me before about high-paying dividend payers. I don't know if you're there. Didn't really find a ton just because of how the group was looking, but now it has looked better. I think you asked me over a week ago when it was here under the 200-day, and now the election was big for this space too. Obviously, deregulation and such, and I'm not going to get into policy. Don't really care. I'm looking at charts, but I see this pulling, as I said, not to beat a dead horse. I see this pulling back to 92, and then if you're gutsy, then that could be your area for to get involved. Alrighty, and then did we look at volatility? I'm sorry. Whoops. So those are the top 3 gainers of the past 5 days. So Bitcoin up 5.5, uranium 4.5, and then energy up 2. Let's look at the losers. Top 3 losers of the past 5 days. Biotech down 11% in the past 5 days. This was a lot of last week. It didn't really soar today. I said, excuse me. I said XBI, I want to see how it trades today. It was up 14 bips. It's got some heavy work to do here. You see the 200-day moving average stuck at 94.94. It's still, almost $3 away from that. Let me see here because I have another, different time frames. Yeah, so I didn't think this was going to go far lower than about 93.5. So I want to see what happens there. I think it gets there soon. And then, actually, doesn't look super great. I think it's going to have a hard time with this with the $94, $95 level. You could see some up down here, but I don't see that kind of. We'll say this is a tough group to say because obviously the 52-week high was on the 11th, and you just had a quick drop. I mean, it went from 105 to 91, and then you're asking for what it's going to do in the next 2 days. It's tough. Still don't love the group. I thought it would get its legs underneath it a little bit more. See how it is, but this might not make sense. In 2 or 3 weeks' time, I do see it at $99 or so. So I see it recovering. Usually, a leader like this does not just give up its colors, so to speak, very quickly. I don't think it goes from winner to loser, even if Kennedy's going to do these things and get rid of fluoride. And there's crazy trades within the healthcare sector. He's trying to ban fluoride, apparently. So there's different dental supply makers that we're ripping today because you're going to have more dentist visits because there's no fluoride in your toothpaste and your teeth are going to decay faster. It's crazy. So there's lots of stuff going under the hood. I don't care about all that stuff. We look at the charts. This still looks like a strong performer. Give it some time. I'd rather buy into strength on this. Like I said with the Jets ETF, your clearer signal would be if this 200-day moving average stabilizes. If not, it starts to pick up. And then get in above a 94. Just make it easier for yourself. The first close above $95. Just let this weakness shake out. Let the sentiment shake out, and then go in. So I already own a biotech specifically. It's crazy volatile, but it is my biggest position. You really do get paid on those if you can stomach through it. So that's all I have to say about this group. Gaston, there you are. I see your question. What do you define? I'll get to your question at the end. What do you describe as mid to long term? If you put, 6, give me a time frame of sorts. I'll get to it at the end. Thank you. Okay, next. So top 3 losers of the past 5 days. XBI down 11%. The next one, Semiconductor, is a very, very important chart in the market as it's one of the leaders of the past year. The SOXX, and obviously this is going to move massively with NVIDIA's earnings. And just so you know, that is Wednesday afternoon. Everyone's going to be looking at that. Going back to the chart of the semiconductors. All right, thank you, Gaston. I see your question there, or your time frame. So lead-based base, kind of similar to what I was just saying in terms of biotech. Obviously, I like the group, but I want to see this kind of base right around 212. So that's going to be your support. I want to see how it trades. When I say base around 212, I want to see that hold with strength. This has gotten the low on Friday was 211 essentially. I'm rounding, and today's low was 210. So also want to buy into strength. Want to see this at least close above 212 for several days. It's a lower band, and it's getting lower here with this volatility expansion. You see this blue starting to get a little bit larger, right? The shading. So don't love that. And again, the semiconductors has not been the best neighborhood since August. Okay. So when that Japan Nikkei crash actually happened before, because here's the Nikkei crash, and then here were the semiconductors right before. So this has been a not so great area to be since August. And in terms of numbers, the SOXX ETF has been stuck from between 193 and 240. In terms of my forecast, I see this basing around 212 and then shooting up to 225 or so. Whoops. And then the 200-day moving average is 227. I'm rounding. And then the ultimate resistance here is 240. I don't see when this happens. I think you might need a market type euphoria where, like GameStop and these Dogecoin. I think you need potentially Santa rally. I think you might need that type of euphoria to break 240, but that is significant resistance that we have not been able to overtake since before the Japan Nikkei crash. Could it be NVIDIA earnings? I don't want to say anything, especially this has different weighting. The SOXX ETF, but take a look at that. But the 240 is heavy resistance on this. Wait for this to base around 212. Let it close above it for several days. And then I think you're going to get a quick shot, as it were, to 225. All right, so it's 13 points, though. Yeah, and you could do the math on what percentage that is. 13 into 212, it would be a 6% move for the SOXX. We'll see. This will take a couple of weeks to play out, 3, 4, maybe 5 weeks. All right, and then lastly, this was the other thing I have on my sheet. I don't want to go too long here. I do want to get to Gaston's ticker. IWM is the third loser, so it's actually equal to the SOXX. So they were selling the XBI on the Kennedy News down 11% in 5 sessions, and then you got the SOXX down 5%, and then you also have IWM down 5%. Look at this stair step. You put in new highs on the 11th, okay, at 242, and it's been down, ever since. Today was up 20 bips, okay. So I just think this has come. It's not technically overbought, and it's giving you a lot back. I mean, from 242 today's close at 229, it's quite a drop. I didn't really pull the trigger on shorting this, on buying puts on IWM today, but I would love for it to get way above 228. I would rather enter this position to the downside just for a short-term put spread, just to put on some protection if the market does get back some, and I do think it does in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I'd rather get involved here around 232. So if you can get it right around where my cursor is here on some kind of a pop, 228, 236, yeah, around 232-ish would be a better target and to enter, and that would take that down to 228. So kind of a quick trade, more so to have protection on in case things go haywire. Not haywire, but in case markets get back and they're just in sell mode. It's a different thing. Also, I did buy utilities. I want to make a portfolio move. I did buy utilities this morning, and thankfully, sometimes you're lucky, sometimes you're good, more so lucky. I basically got in on the low today, and utilities had a nice day. This is one of the absolute best sectors this year. I think it's communications, financials, and utilities. Again, it's like a casino. You want to have different pieces on different parts of the market. I'm not invested in utilities, and if you don't remember, it's hard to invest in individual utilities. So if you want to get in, you kind of have to buy the XLU. It gets hard to buy, individual company due to market cap and liquidity through options. Alrighty. So IWM getting hit hard just as much as SOXX in the past 5 days. Okay, so the top 3 absolute trades of the past 5 days. If you were short biotech, you got 11% in your pocket. If you're long IBIT, you got 5.5%. And if you're short the semiconductors, you got 5%. So those are the best trades with a 5-day back, a look back. Short biotechs, long Bitcoin, short semiconductors seems to be the way the markets have been going. All right, Gaston. Hey, what do you think about PBR in the long mid-term 4 to 5 months? I don't typically do 4 or 5 months, out, but let me take a look at this. Let's pull it up. PBR is, for those that don't know, they're in the oil business. It's a $90 billion company, so quite large, and they're a lot in Brazil. People are saying, hold on, Gaston, hold on. He's going back to, well, I'll just do this because I'm not going to pull up the chart because we just talked about it. People are saying he's writing Bitcoin's going to 75 and then going back up to 100. So do I. I say that as well. I think I actually said that last week in the video. My take right now, I'll get to your PBR, but we were saying we're trading like 92K or something right now. I see about a 10% pullback, so it can go to, like 81, possibly a little bit lower. It's Bitcoin, so it's really hard to funnel and exactly expect what it's going to do. 75 is possible. I believe that's where the 200 moving average is. I could pull it up after this thing, and then go back up past 90 to 100. I do think that's possible. Probably participate with the Santa rally. I think that's what's happening. All right, so PBR here. Don't love this chart, man. Energy is getting some dollars. Obviously, as I said before, you want to be careful, though. This is Brazil, and Brazil's been a really bad place to invest. EWZ been an awful place. So I don't like that affiliation. Again, and I said this when I was on, my friend like JC's show, you always want to go like top down. So if XLE is starting to show some strength, you want to pick the best of the best in XLE. I wouldn't get too creative and try to find, super laggards like this. To be honest, I wouldn't have had any reason to own this since their May earnings. Okay. Not only because of what happened in that earnings call, I don't really honestly care. They announced 75 cents, but the day after that, the stock's been in limbo ever since. The 200-day was rising, that's fine, and then you had these 52-week lows put in during the Nikkei crash. So to answer your question, 4-5 months out. So you're talking about, what is that? March, April? Oh man, the whole world can change. Yeah, I just don't know. It's going to be hard. Let me just do something for this. Hold on. I'll do something. 1 sec, dude, because you are a loyal fan and a viewer. Let me see here, buddy. What country are you from, by the way, guys? You could put that in. I'm guessing Brazil, or put that in there. I'm just curious. I think it loses. I mean, I don't think it does a ton. I don't think you're going to go bankrupt. You're in Argentina. Congratulations. New all-time highs today. Go in that ETF, dude. Invest in Argentina pure. I'll pull it up. That is where it's at, man. I'll pull that up. New all-time highs in Argentina today. That's so funny you say that. I will pull it up because I think it's important. I don't think, going back to this PBR, I don't think you lose a ton. I don't think you make a ton either. I think it loses like 1% a month, depending on where you get in, and that's about it. So I think this is, I don't know, plus. I know it doesn't sound super great, but plus or minus 4%, probably to the downside. So, just lazily, I think this is going to have 96% of its current value by then. So I don't know. I'm going to say around $13.5 to $14 in March. You can call me a dummy then, or if I was spot on. But yeah, and if you want to chase this and you want to get long, I'd wait for a couple closes above 15.15. I just rather buy above. Yeah, I'd rather just have some momentum to this. I don't like the Brazil affiliation or collection. So I do want to pull this up. Where is the Argentina? I believe it was this one that made all-time highs. There it is. You go on the max here. There it is, man. Invest in have some domestic bias, dude. Look at this thing. From 52-week lows in March 2020, or from all-time lows in March 2020 during that scary time. That's a way too long look back. I just wanted to show you the whole thing. Look at this. This was $15 back there. Obviously, this was 4 years ago during the COVID scare, and people were probably thinking, not traveling to South America and such. And this has been a runaway train. Look at the 1 year chart. Absolutely great. Here, the market globally crashed. No one told Argentina. So I would try and get this. And in terms of when, since we're talking about it now, not many places today hit all-time highs. They're rotating into different areas, and this is a momentum breakout. This obviously did a lot of movement. So, upwards, so I wouldn't chase this right here. But if you have an entry, and I'm talking to myself and you and other viewers, if you get this around $74, 74.5, I would get in, and I would allocate appropriately, especially since you're there. I would give you permission to have domestic bias here to buy Argentina. It's absolutely spectacular. And then, so I talked to you about the PBR. Yeah, probably lose a little bit is what I think. Probably like 13.75 or something in end of Q1 next year. And then lastly, just going to your BTC question. So yeah, the 200 moving average is at 64K, and you're saying folks expect to go to 75. Yeah, I think that sounds about right. My level was a little bit higher. I don't think this entire bar is given back. That breakout on the 11th from last Monday when we went from 76 to 88K, I don't think they give all of that back, but I could be, of course, wrong. I do see, it's trading 91K right here. all-time high was 93. I do see, like a 10% pullback, which would take us to about 82K. So possibly a little bit lower, like to about 78. So, what you were saying is pretty close. Maybe not quite as low as 75K. All right. What else here? I think that's it. I'm trying to think because I think the different schedule this week. So we will be back on. I'm trying to think because I have different stuff going on this week. I'll keep you posted. I'm not sure. If I'm not here at 4:15, you'll see me the next day. Peace.